kind of look back and go, whoa, where have I been? What happened to me? So we're all going to experience some sort of grief, whether it's the loss of a job, the loss of a family member, a change in general kind of gives us a state of grief, right? Like most of us don't embrace change, which change is always happening, but we all kind of get in these like situations where things are going well and something can kind of throw it off a little bit. And if we don't manage those emotions, we don't step back and recognize, whoa, I'm not handling this quite as well, and utilize the tools that we have, then that's when we can kind of lead down these chronic paths and not even really know it. So what can we do about this? What can we do to manage our stress? What can we do to manage our emotions? And what can we do to kind of keep these levels into play? So I'm a true believer in mixing your Eastern medicine and your Western medicine. Your Western medicine, you're more dependent on people, right? You're more dependent on a physician or a nurse practitioner or even a nurse or a nutritionist. You're more dependent on them and their advice, which is okay. Sometimes we need that, and I don't want people to think that you shouldn't do that. That's why they're there, and they have great advice to give. But we also have Eastern medicine and our natural remedies, which we have right at our fingertips. Mixing it with counseling. Counseling lets us, it gives us more of a permission to let those feelings out and to say it out loud and to run it by somebody who has training that can help us understand that it's okay to have these feelings and ways to work through it. And using some of our essential oils and things like that with counseling together is so incredibly powerful, because again, those aromas can kind of help us bring into a more balanced emotional state, so we're able to talk through it more instead of wanting to hold it inside or instead of blurting it out in an angry fashion. It gives us that ability to communicate about it much better and to work through it. Meditation, just giving yourself that permission to relax, to not think about anything in particular, to get yourself in a state. I wasn't a true believer in it at all. Kind of like with the oils, I wasn't a believer until I tried it. And honestly, I wish I would do it more, because the times that I have done it, it has been really helpful. I remember a particular time where I was really busy and I really felt a lot of stress on how am I going to get all of this stuff done. And I just kind of felt those feelings of anxiousness creep up, and I could feel my heart start racing, and I could feel my mind just going in every direction, and I didn't have the ability to focus. And so I had recently downloaded a meditation app, and I decided I was going to take 5 minutes and just kind of bring myself back to center. And I was absolutely amazed with clearing my mind, using my essential oils. I started my diffuser. I did purposeful deep breathing, and I gave myself 5 minutes, and it really brought those feelings of anxiousness down, and it really gave myself the ability to focus, and it really gave me the feelings of courage and empowerment. And so it's really important to do those things and to do those self-care activities that help us bring us back into a state of balance. Prescription medications, sometimes they're needed. Sometimes we need to have that medication and that advice of our physician or nurse practitioner. And I would encourage you guys to do that. And to mix those in, talk to your physicians about what other natural remedies you're thinking about doing, and kind of get their advice on that as well. So, I mean, there's absolutely times where we may need some prescription medications to even kind of help us with those emotional well-being. If you're looking for natural remedies to kind of help come off those medications, you really need to talk to your physician closely and work with them so that they know and can kind of give you advice on tapering and things like that, and signs and symptoms to look for. There's certain medications that you don't necessarily have to taper, and there's other medications that you absolutely have to taper, or it's not going to be a very pleasant experience for you. So I encourage you to really talk to your physician and helping him understand where you're coming from, so he can help walk you through it, or she can help walk you through it. to come to that state of balance for you. You guys, nutrition is so important, and I've really found that in the last 5 or 6 months of my life. I was not in the best of health, and I had kind of gone to food and not the good kind of food, all of the junk food, and I really let myself get into a physical disaster, honestly. And the worse I ate, the more I craved it. And so it was just kind of this circular path. And I knew it wasn't great for me, but I couldn't pull myself out of that. And I finally decided that I needed to focus on that. If I'm going to really talk about well-being and wellness, I needed to kind of check myself and look in the mirror. And I did, and it wasn't what I wanted to see. And so over the last 5 or 6 months, I've really worked on my nutritional state. I've lost 42 pounds so far, and I feel so much better. And now when I occasionally have that, piece of cake or piece of cheesecake or ice cream, my body goes, whoa, what did you decide to do? Because it's not used to it. And now I more crave the vegetables and the salads and my proteins. And I never thought I would be like that, because I was always like, give me the chocolate, give me the Doritos, give me my Diet Coke. Like, I really craved those non-nutritional food substances. And now I don't have those cravings. And it can be sitting on my counter, and I can have the desire to just leave it on my counter, which has never happened to me in my entire life. So I'm really stoked. It's hard to get there. But you know what, you guys? We are what we eat. And our emotions are what we eat. So if we're choosing to put things in our body that don't have that nutritional value, that's what's going to manifest in our bodies. If we're putting things of nutritional value in our body is going to function the way it is supposed to function. We're going to have those desires to eat more nutritionally. Our bodies will crave those more, and we won't be as inclined to have some of these chronic diseases. And guess what? Our emotions are going to be more balanced. Hydration. You guys, I used to hydrate primarily on Diet Coke all day long. And I have cut that down. I have one Diet Coke a day, and some days I don't even finish it. And I really kind of crave that carbonation, and I really need to work on cutting it out fully. But my hydration is now water. Our bodies are primarily made up of water, and we need a good, clean source of water for our bodies to function well. So it's really important to get 64 plus ounces of water in us a day. And for me, that's really challenging. I've never been a water person, honestly. But now that I do it, I see how much better I feel, and I see how much better my body operates. So having adequate hydration is important. Exercise, you guys. We don't have to be intense about our exercise, but we do have to be intentional. Getting in a good steady walk or a bike ride, getting that cardiovascular, that helps us release endorphins, that helps us manage those biochemistries that we were talking about, that helps us release things, and it keeps us in a healthier state. It's not easy. Doing the whole picture, it's not easy. But I'm telling you, because I've lived it the last 6 months and I've seen such a positive impact on myself, it really does all tie together. And I wasn't able to tie that together fully before, but I can now. And I can tell you, I feel more balanced all around in my physical health, in my ability to sleep, in my emotional well-being. I am definitely more balanced than I was before. And I've had great intention, and I see the results. So you can do it. You have the ability to do it. Get an accountability partner. It really helps to have an accountability partner to be able to check in and say, how are you doing? I'm doing great. I did this, or I kind of had a bad day and I slipped up, but I'm back on the bandwagon. It gives you that extra drive and push. So get an accountability partner to help you get on this state of well-being, okay? So how specifically do the essential oils help, okay? The aromas travel through our olfactory receptors, which is concentrated in our limbic system, like we kind of talked about before, and that's a very primitive part of our brain. And that is the seat of all of our emotions. So when we can trigger that part of our brain, we can change the chemistry within our body. When we can change the chemistry within our body, we can have our body working in a more synchronous way, and in a more functional way for us. Okay. Many researchers have come to believe that physical illnesses are often the result of an emotional inflammatory state. So we all need a certain level of inflammation in our body, but when that inflammation gets high or that cortisol gets high, that's when it can have a negative impact on us. And that's when it can lead to some of the chronic issues. So our emotional responses can manifest by perspiration or sweating, feelings of anxiousness, our heart racing, our mind racing. These biological responses are the result of these chemical reactions. So it's all intertwined, okay? The scent alone can have a positive change. So I almost always have an essential oil in my pocket or on my desk or somewhere nearby. And when I start feeling kind of this emotional imbalance, I will go take and put a drop right in my hand and I will rub it together. So I'll just kind of show you. This is adaptive. And we're going to talk about this specifically. So I just kind of put one drop in my hand and I rub it together and I cup it around my mouth and my nose and I inhale. Okay, and then I can rub the excess on right over my heart or on my wrists or the back of my neck. And I can feel that change almost immediately. That sense of peace, that sense of, it's okay, you got this, we can work through it. And I can feel those physical manifestations changing. You know, when we can get those states of anxiety, I feel a lot of tension in my chest, and I can feel that tension let go just by inhaling it and then also putting them on topically. So let's see. When we can be in a more balanced state, it's also going to give us the ability to improve our sleep. And sleep is where our body really restores and rejuvenates and regenerates things. So we need to be able to get adequate sleep. We need to be able to lay down and turn our minds off and let our body do its rejuvenating. That's what helps keep our body in that balanced state as well. Okay, some of us need more sleep than others, but all of us need a good night's rest in order to be able to function the way we need to. Okay, smelling some of the oils alone can also change some of our digestive symptoms that we have. So sometimes when we're anxious, we can get some of the stomach cramping or feelings of nauseousness, and smelling the oils alone can change that and can calm that system and that fear. Okay, so I love diffusing essential oils. I have a diffuser in every room of my house. I have one at my office. I have one for my car. I have them everywhere because, you guys, it can change the atmosphere of the room that you're in almost immediately. And at work, when I forget to turn it on, one of my coworkers will always kind of remind me, are you going to start that thing today? They feel the difference too. And so it's really lovely to have it. When I diffuse scents that smell good to me, that are uplifting. That's not always the case for me when I'm using them topically. When I use the oils topically, a lot of times I will use the oil for its intended use, even if I don't love the scent. But when I'm diffusing, I want it to be uplifting. Citruses are great oils to diffuse because they are naturally uplifting. They help us to have those happier emotional states, and so they help bring those oxytocin levels, the dopamine, the serotonin levels up. And when we can bring those up, remember, that's going to drop the cortisol levels down automatically. So have a diffuser. I have one in my bedroom that I start to help me with sleep. I have one, I literally have about 5 in the main area of my house. My house is pretty open. So I have one more by my desk, and I have one over on the other side of that room, and I have one over on my tall counter in my kitchen that also opens up to a big family room, and I have 2 other diffusers in there. Do you need that many? No, you don't need that many. But it brings